My name is Elena Ramirez, and if you asked me a year ago what my biggest fear was, I'd have laughed and said it was running out of coffee before my morning shift at the coffee shop in downtown Chicago. At 32, I was the queen of my little corner of the world, strong-willed, sarcastic, the kind of woman who could talk her way out of a parking ticket and into a free latte. I'd clawed my way through community college night classes while waitressing, landed that barista gig that paid just enough to keep the lights on in my shoebox apartment, and I was saving up for something real, something big. A bakery of my own, maybe. Dreams like that keep you going when the wind off Lake Michigan bites through your coat. But life has a funny way of rewriting your script. One rainy Tuesday in late spring, my phone buzzed on the counter while I was steaming oat milk for a rush hour line. It was Mom. Not just any call, her voice was that shaky whisper she reserved for bad news, like when Dad's truck spun out on black ice 10 years back. Elena, honey, it's Grandma Rosa. She's gone. Grandma Rosa. The rock of our family, the widow who'd outlived everyone with a smile and a story. She'd been in Indianapolis my whole life, in that creaky old bungalow on the east side, the one with the sagging porch and the garden that bloomed like it was defying the Rust Belt decay around it. Grandpa had passed when I was a kid, leaving her with nothing but a pension that barely covered the mortgage and a savings jar she kept on the kitchen shelf, blue glass, fat as a genie's lamp, stuffed with crumpled bills and loose change. For the grandkids, she'd say, winking at me and my brother Tommy. College funds, wedding bouquets, whatever dreams you chase. It wasn't much, maybe a couple grand over the years, but to us, it was treasure. Grandma's treasure. I dropped everything. Booked a red-eye bus ticket out of Chicago, the kind where the seats recline just enough to fool you into thinking you'll sleep. By dawn, I was rattling into the Greyhound station on the edge of Indy, the city sprawling out like a faded postcard, domed Capitol building gleaming under a hazy sun, the White River snaking through neighborhoods that time forgot. The air smelled like wet concrete and distant fried dough from the fairgrounds. Home. Or what used to feel like it. Tommy picked me up in his beat-up Ford pickup, the one with the Confederate flag sticker peeling off the bumper that I'd nagged him about since high school. He was 35 now, broader in the shoulders, with that same cocky grin and a 5 o'clock shadow that screamed, "I quit my construction job last week." We hugged awkwardly over the console, his flannel shirt rough against my cheek. "Sis, you made it. Mom's a wreck." "Grandma," she went peaceful, in her sleep. Heart just gave out. The drive to the house was quiet at first, the suburbs blurring by, strip malls with for lease signs, kids on bikes dodging potholes. Then Tommy cleared his throat. "Funerals Friday." Small, like she wanted. Just family, a few neighbors. He glanced at me, eyes flicking to the road. "You staying long? Got that big city life pulling you back?" I shrugged, staring out at the familiar chain-link fences. "A week, maybe 2. Help Mom pack up the house, sort Grandma's things. Can't leave her drowning in it alone." Mom, Lydia Ramirez, had moved in with Grandma after Dad died, turning the bungalow into a 2-woman fortress. She worked doubles at the hospital as a nurse, her hands calloused from years of holding strangers together. Strong like me, but softer around the edges, the kind who baked empanadas at midnight when grief hit hard. We pulled up to the house just as the sun crested, painting the peeling blues siding gold. The garden was wild already, roses tangling with tomatoes, Grandma's handiwork. Mom was on the porch, rocking in that old wicker chair, a mug of tea steaming in her lap. She looked smaller than I remembered, her dark hair streaked with more gray, eyes puffy but dry. No tears left, I guessed. "Elena," she breathed, pulling me into a hug that smelled like lavender soap and hospital antiseptic. "You look tired. Come inside, mi hija. There's coffee." The kitchen hit me like a wave. Same Formica counters scarred from decades of meals, the fridge humming like an old friend. And there, on the shelf above the sink, was the jar. Empty. Just blue glass, catching the light like it was mocking us. I froze, hand halfway to a chair. Mom, where's the money? Grandma's savings? She followed my gaze, her face tightening like she'd been slapped. Gone. Tommy said he borrowed it. For bills, he said. Promised to pay it back. Her voice cracked on the last word, and she busied herself with the coffee pot, shoulders hunched. Tommy, leaning in the doorway, shifted his weight. Yeah, sis. Rough patch at work. Lights were getting shut off. It's temporary. I'll square it up soon as I land something steady. I stared at him, that grin of his feeling a little too tight. Borrowed. From a dead woman's jar. The grandkids' jar. My stomach twisted, but I swallowed it down. This was family. Messy, broke, but family. Okay, I said finally, forcing a nod. We'll figure it out. Together. That first day blurred into a haze of arrangements. I called the funeral home, a drafty place downtown with velvet curtains and the faint scent of lilies. Picked out Grandma's dress, the floral one she wore to church, the one that made her laugh because it clashed with her red lipstick. Mom and I sorted photos for the service, me at 5, gap-toothed grin and a Easter bonnet, Tommy at 10, gap-toothed too but with a baseball mitt bigger than his head, all of us at Christmas, Grandma in the middle like the sun. By evening, neighbors trickled in, Mrs. Hargrove from next door, with her famous lemon bars, old Mr. Patel from the corner store, who always slipped us free candy as kids. They filled the living room with casseroles and condolences, the air thick with cigarette smoke and whispers. That's when I met Jake for the first time in years. Jake Harlan, Tommy's old high school buddy, now a detective with the Indy PD, tall, with sandy hair and eyes like storm clouds, he clapped Tommy on the back and handed over a six-pack of craft IPAs. Heard about Rosa. Tough loss. She was salt of the earth. Tommy cracked a beer, passing one to Jake. Yeah, man. Hey, Elena, Jake here's the one who pulled me out of that bar fight last summer. Saved my ass. Jake's gaze slid to me, warm but assessing. Elena Ramirez. Been a minute. You still bossing everyone around? I smirked, taking the beer he offered. Only when they deserve it. You still playing hero? We laughed, but there was a spark there, the kind that simmers under small talk. Jake stayed late, helping Mom with the dishes while Tommy nursed his drink in the corner. As the night wound down, he pulled me aside on the porch. Your brother's in a bind, Elena. Debt's piling up. But he's family. Give him grace, grace. I nodded, but as I watched Tommy's truck peel out later, tires squealing on the wet pavement, something gnawed at me. The jar. Borrowed. And Grandma's voice echoed in my head, from a story she'd told me as a girl, trust is like glass, Mija. Shatters easy, cuts deep when it does. Little did I know, the cuts were just beginning. The funeral was a quiet affair, the kind Grandma would have approved of, no fuss, just folding chairs in the church basement and a priest who droned like he was reading a grocery list. St. Mary's on the south side, with its stained glass saints watching over us like judgmental uncles. I sat between Mom and Tommy, the pew hard against my back, the air heavy with incense and unspoken grief. Grandma's casket was simple pine, draped in white lilies, and as they lowered her into the ground later at Crown Hill Cemetery, under a sky-spitting drizzle, I felt the finality settle like mud in my boots. Back at the house, the real work began. Sorting. That's when the doubt started whispering, soft as the creak of floorboards underfoot. Mom and I tackled the attic first, a dust-choked maze of boxes labeled in Grandma's looping script, holiday ornaments, Tommy's baby clothes, Elena's art supplies. I was knee-deep in faded report cards when Mom called from the corner, her voice muffled. Elena, come here. Look at this. She held a shoebox, lid yellowed with age. Inside, letters. Dozens of them, tied with a faded ribbon. From Grandpa, mostly, love notes from his army days, scribbled on onion skin paper. My Rosa, you're the fire in my foxhole. But at the bottom, something else, bank statements. Grandma's pension deposits, steady as clockwork, and withdrawals, small ones at first, then bigger. Grocery runs, utility bills. But one line jumped out, a $500 transfer to T. Ramirez 6 months back. Tommy. I glanced at Mom, her face pale as the box's lining. He needed help with the truck payment. Told her it was a one-time thing. One time. The word hung there, sour as the mildew in the air. I tucked the box away, but it burned in my mind. That night, after Mom crashed early, exhaustion carving lines deeper into her face, I couldn't sleep. The guest room was Grandma's old sewing space, threads still dangling from the machine like spiderwebs. I padded downstairs in socks, the house groaning like it was grieving too. Kitchen light on low, I poured a glass of milk and stared at the empty jar shelf. Footsteps. Tommy, shuffling in from the back door, reeking of rain and cheap whiskey. He froze when he saw me. Sis? Can't sleep either? I set the glass down, casual as I could. Nah. Jet lag from the bus. You? He shrugged, grabbing a beer from the fridge. Same old. Job hunting's a bitch. He popped the tab, foam spilling over his knuckles. We sat at the table, the silence stretching like taffy. Finally, I nudged. About the jar, Tommy. How much, exactly? We talking hundreds? I could spot you some from my savings. His laugh was too quick, too loud. Nah, it's handled. Like, a grand maybe. Lotto's hot right now, Powerball jackpot's what, 300 mil? One ticket, and boom. We're golden. Lotto. The word landed like a stone in my gut. Grandma's money, our future, on scratch-offs and dreams? I forced a smile. Yeah, well, don't bet the farm, big bro. He clinked his can to my glass. Never do. But he did. The clues piled up like autumn leaves over the next few days. I started noticing things, the way Tommy's phone buzzed constantly, screen lighting up with texts from numbers I didn't know. He'd snatch it quick, muttering about job leads. One afternoon, while he was out interviewing, I borrowed his truck keys, told myself it was to grab groceries, but really, I wanted a peek. Glove box, crumpled lotto tickets, dozens of them, losers all, dates matching the withdrawals. My hands shook as I shoved them back, heart pounding like a drum solo. Then there was Aunt Carla. Mom's sister, flying in from Cincinnati for a quick visit. She cornered me in the garden that Saturday, pruning shears in hand, her peroxide curls frizzing in the humidity. Elena, that brother's trouble. Always has been. Remember when he borrowed your bike in 8th grade and pawned it for beer money? History repeats. I clipped a dead rose head, thorns pricking my thumb. He's family, Aunt C. We're all hurting. She snorted, wiping sweat from her brow. Hurting? Or hustling? Your grandma called me last month, worried sick. Said Tommy was pressuring her for cash. For investments, he claimed. Sounded like a con to me. Investments. Lotto was an investment now? I brushed it off, but the seed was planted. That night, over takeout pizza, greasy pepperoni folding under our forks, Tommy spun tales of his big break. A buddy from the site, he said, tipped him on a construction boom downtown. Indies growing, sis. Canal Walk condos, all that fancy shit. I'll be foreman by fall. Mom nodded, hopeful. That's good, Mijo. Proud of you. But I saw the flicker in her eyes, the doubt mirroring mine. After she cleared plates, Tommy pulled me into the living room, voice low. Look, Elena, I know you're judging. But it's not like that. Grandma would have wanted me to try. She always said, shoot for the stars, Tommy boy. I crossed my arms, the room's shadows dancing from the street lamp outside. She also said family first. Not gambles. His jaw tightened, that grin gone. Easy for you to say, Miss Independent. You got out, made it in the big city. Me? Stuck here, scraping by. Guilt twisted, sharp as a knife. He wasn't wrong. I'd left for Chicago at 18, chasing art school dreams that fizzled into barista life. But anger simmered too. Then pay it back. Before it eats us all. He stormed out, door slamming like a gunshot. I sank onto the couch, head in hands. That's when my phone lit up, a text from Jake. Heard Tommy spinning yarns again. You okay? How'd he know? Small town, I guessed. Or cop instincts. I typed back, surviving. Coffee tomorrow? Need an ear. His reply, porch swing, 9 a.m. Black, 2 sugars. Morning came sticky, humidity clinging like regret. Jake showed up in khakis and a button-down, badge glinting on his belt. We sipped from thermoses, the porch swing creaking under our weight. He listened as I spilled, the jar, the tickets, Tommy's excuses. No judgment, just those gray eyes steady on mine. Sounds like a classic spiral, he said finally, swinging us gently. Addiction's a thief, Elena. Steals more than money. Addiction. The word hung heavy. You think that's it? My brother's not weak. Jake set his cup down, hand brushing mine accidental-like. Not weak. Human. But if it's more, if there's debts, bad company, you gotta protect your mom. And yourself. His touch lingered, warm against the morning chill. For a second, the world's weight lifted. But then Tommy's truck rumbled up the drive, early and hungover. Jake stood, casual. Morning, Harlan. Sis. We watched him stumble inside. Jake leaned close, voice a murmur. Watch your back, Elena. Family or not, some lines you don't cross. The days stretched into a humid blur, Indianapolis sweltering under a dome of July heat that turned the bungalow into a pressure cooker. Mom threw herself into shifts at the hospital, coming home with scrubs stained and eyes distant, like she was stitching wounds no one could see. I took over the house, laundry folding in the basement's damp air, meals simmering on the stove with spices from Grandma's pantry. But the tension coiled tighter, a spring ready to snap. Tommy was home less, his job hunts stretching into evenings at dive bars downtown, the kind with neon signs buzzing like angry hornets. One night, after Mom had nodded off to the TV's murmur, some cop show irony I couldn't stomach, I confronted him in the garage. He was tinkering with the truck's engine, grease streaking his arms like war paint, radio blasting classic rock. Tommy, we need to talk. For real this time. He wiped his forehead with a rag, not meeting my eyes. About what? The jar. Told you, it's handled. I stepped closer, the concrete floor cool under my bare feet. Handled how? I saw the tickets. In your truck. Dates line up with Grandma's withdrawals. His wrench clattered against the toolbox. You went through my shit? Jesus, Elena, that's low. Low? You're stealing from Mom's dead mother. Our grandmother. My voice cracked, echoing off the rafters. Tears pricked, hot and unwelcome. I swiped them away, Ramirez women didn't crumble. He rounded on me, face flushed. Stealing? It was a loan. She offered, said the jar was for family needs. My needs. You think I wanted this? Bills stacking like Jenga, landlord breathing down my neck. Lotto was my out. One win, and I'd pay double. Triple. The garage light flickered, casting shadows that danced like accusations. And when you lose? Again and again? That's not a plan, Tommy. That's a grave you're digging, for all of us. He deflated, shoulders slumping, the fight draining out like air from a tire. I know. God, I know. Just, give me time, sis. Please. I wanted to believe him. That boy who shared ice cream cones on summer nights, who pushed me on swings till my legs ached. But the man in front of me? Eyes darting, hands fidgeting. Time's what we don't have. Mom's pension barely covers the mortgage now. If the bank's calling. They are, he muttered, kicking a oil can. It skittered across the floor. Not just them. Some guys, from a game. Poker, nothing big. But they want their cut. Poker. The word ignited something fierce in me. Debts to guys. This wasn't just Lotto folly, it was a hole swallowing him whole. Who? Names, Tommy. Now. He shook his head, backing toward the door. Can't. They'll come for you too. Just, trust me to fix it. Trust. That glass word again, shattering underfoot. He slipped inside, leaving me in the dark with the engine's tick in my pounding heart. The next morning, Jake met me at the canal walk, a ribbon of brick paths winding through the city core, joggers huffing past under willow trees. We walked slow, coffees in hand, the water lapping like secrets. I unloaded it all, the confrontation, the poker hint. His face hardened, that detective mask slipping on. Indy's underbelly's no joke, Elena. Underground games, loan sharks. If Tommy's in deep, he's not just risking cash. He's risking everything. We paused at a bench, the city hum around us, tourists snapping selfies, a street violinist sawing a mournful tune. Jake's hand found my knee, steadying. You're strong, you know that? Taking this on. But don't go lone wolf. Let me poke around. Discreet. His touch sent a shiver unrelated to the betrayal. Why help? You barely know us anymore. He smiled, faint. Knew you once. That girl who outran every boy on the track team. Figured she deserved backup. Backup. The word warmed me, but the turmoil churned. That afternoon, back home, Mom dropped her own bomb. We'd been sorting Grandma's jewelry, pearl earrings, a locket with Grandpa's photo, when she pulled an envelope from the china cabinet. This came yesterday. For the house. Foreclosure notice. 3 months behind. My blood ran cold. Tommy's rent? He promised. Mom's laugh was bitter, hollow. Promises. Like your father with his overtime shifts that never came. She sank into a chair, the envelope crumpling in her fist. I can't lose this place, Elena. It's all I have left of her. I knelt, taking her hands, cold, trembling. You won't. I swear. We'll fight it. But how? My Chicago savings, $2,000, earmarked for my bakery dream. Draining it felt like betrayal to myself. And Tommy? Vanishing acts increasing, texts vague, out late, don't wait up. Subplots woven like threads in Grandma's quilts. Aunt Carla extended her stay, bunking on the couch, her sharp tongue a double-edged sword. That boy's a leech, Lydia. Cut him loose before he drags you under. Mom bristled, defending her son, but I saw the fracture lines deepening. Then there was Sarah, my old high school confidant, now a teller at the local credit union. We grabbed lunch at a deli near the Circle, Indy's Monument roundabout, traffic swirling like a vortex. Over turkey clubs, I pried gently. Ever see Tommy in there? Withdrawals? Sarah's eyes widened behind her glasses, pickle paused mid-bite. Girl, he's a regular. Cash advances, maxed cards. Last week, he cleaned out an account, Grandma's joint, I think. Signed her name shaky, like he was drunk. Drunk forgery. The stakes rocketed. You tell anyone? She shook her head. Not my place. But Elena, be careful. Rumors say he's hanging with Rico's crew. Those poker sharks. They don't play nice. Rico. Name like a curse. I thanked her, heart hammering, and drove home with windows down, wind whipping my doubts into frenzy. That evening, Tommy stumbled in late, eyes bloodshot, a fresh bruise blooming on his jaw. Slipped on the job site, he mumbled, dodging Mom's concern. I cornered him in the hall, voice a hiss. Rico? Poker debts? What the hell, Tommy? His face went ashen. Who told you? Sarah? Damn it. Answer me. He grabbed my arm, gripped too tight. It's under control. One more game, big pot. I'll win it back. I yanked free, rubbing the red mark. You're drowning us all. Grandma's rolling in her grave. He flinched, but anger flared. She pitied me. Always did, the screw-up son. You? The golden girl. Maybe I took what was mine for once. The words sliced deep, emotional low crashing like waves. I stormed to my room, slamming the door, tears finally breaking free. Betrayal wasn't just the money, it was the fracture in our core, the brother I'd idolized now a stranger. Downstairs, voices rose, Mom and Tommy, muffled shouts piercing the walls. You used her signature? Dios mio, Thomas. Silence, then his truck roaring to life. Gone again. Jake texted as thunder rumbled outside, storm coming. You safe? I replied, not sure anymore. The rising tide of secrets was pulling us under, stakes climbing with every lie. And in the dark, I vowed, no more victim. Time to fight back. The storm hit hard that night, lightning cracking the sky like God's own fury, rain lashing the windows in sheets. I lay awake, the argument's echoes replaying, Tommy's accusation, Mom's gasp of horror. Forgery. On Grandma's account. It wasn't just borrowing anymore, it was crime, the kind that landed you in orange jumpsuits and family photos without you in them. My mind raced, piecing clues into a nightmare mosaic, Lotto losers, poker debts, Rico's shadow looming like a bad debt collector ad. By dawn, the clouds parted, leaving puddles mirroring the city's gray sprawl. Mom was in the kitchen, frying eggs with mechanical precision, her silence louder than thunder. He called. Said he's sorry. Staying with a friend tonight. A friend. Or a foxhole with wolves. I nodded, plating food we both poked at. We need a plan, Mom. Lawyer? Bank? She set her fork down, eyes weary. Lawyer costs money we don't have. And Tommy, he's blood. Blood. Thicker than water, thinner than lies. I squeezed her hand. Blood fights for each other. Not against. Aunt Carla burst in then, overnight bag slung over her shoulder, announced she was staying, till this mess clears. Her presence was a whirlwind, rearranging cabinets, interrogating Mom about details. That boy forged? Lydia, you're blind. I saw it coming years ago, after his divorce. Wife left, took the kid, left him bitter, chasing quick fixes. Divorce. Tommy's ex, Becca, with their daughter Mia, 5 years old, pigtailed terror who called me Tia Elena. He'd never mentioned custody battles, just, it's complicated. Subplot unraveling, his rough patch wasn't just jobs, it was a life in freefall. I slipped out mid-morning, texting Jake, meet at the library. Need your eyes on something. The Central Library downtown, a glass and steel fortress amid the grit, felt safe, neutral ground. He was waiting in the genealogy section, stacks of microfiche glowing under lamps. I slid him the bank envelope, Sarah's intel scribbled on a napkin. He scanned it, jaw clenching. This is bad. Forgery's a felony. But if Rico's involved. He trailed off, pulling a file from his satchel, PD printouts, redacted. Off record, Tommy's name popped in a report last month. Bar altercation, no charges. But the other guy? Rico Valdez's enforcer. Valdez. The name chilled. I'd Googled him on Mom's ancient laptop, small-time kingpin, poker dens and abandoned warehouses off Michigan Road. Cliffhanger heart, what if Tommy wasn't just losing? What if he was in deeper, trading favors? Jake's hand covered mine on the table. I'm pulling strings. But Elena, stay clear. These guys don't bluff. His concern wrapped around me, a subplot blooming, romance's tentative spark amid the storm. We parted with a hug that lingered, his cologne mixing with old books. Call if anything feels off. Everything felt off. Back home, the mail brought the first twist, a letter from Becca, forwarded. Tommy hasn't sent child support in months. Mia's asking for him. If you see him, tell him we're done waiting. Scrawled note inside, a photo of Mia, thumb in mouth, eyes like Tommy's, pleading. Guilt knifed me. My nephew, niece, unwitting casualty. I pocketed it, vowing to bridge that gap too. Evening brought Suspense's sharp edge. Tommy showed, sheepish, bearing apology tacos from Los Reyes. We ate in uneasy truce, Mom thawing under his charm. I messed up, okay? The signature, heat of the moment. But I'm out of the games. Swear on Mia. Mia. The name cracked his armor. I probed gentle. Becca wrote. She's hurting. His fork paused, face crumpling. I know. Tried calling, but Rico's guys trashed my phone last week. Said pay up or else. Or else what? Mom's voice trembled. He shrugged, too casual. Nothing I can't handle. Liar. The air thickened, and as if scripted, his phone buzzed, unknown number. He stepped out, voice low on the porch. I cracked the door, eavesdropping like a thief. Yeah, Valdez, I got half. The rest after the game Friday. Don't touch the sister, man, she's clean. Sister. Me. Stakes skyrocketed, threats bleeding into my world. I slipped back, heart thundering, just as he re-entered. Everything good? I asked, voice steady. Yeah. Buddy from work. Lie layered on lie. That night, alone, I dug deeper. Grandma's laptop, hidden in her closet, password her birthday. Emails, frantic chains with Tommy. Mijo, no more. The jars for the kids. His replies, trust me, Ma. Big win coming. Attached, scanned Lotto tickets, hopes in pixels. Then, the gut punch twist, a folder labeled, insurance. Policy on the house, Grandma's beneficiary, but a rider for Tommy, payout if. No. Arson whispers from neighbors, unsolved fire next door last year. Coincidence? Sleep evaded, suspense coiling. Midnight knock, Jake, rain slicked at the door. Couldn't stay away. Got a tip, Friday's game at the old mill. Tommy's all in. All in. Cliffhanger, go with him? Expose? Or lose everything? We crash it, I whispered, alliance forged in shadows. But smart. No guns, no glory. His nod was grim. Partners, then. As thunder rumbled distant, another twist texted in, Aunt Carla, from her room. Found this in Tommy's jacket. Call me. Dawn broke muggy, the air thick as the secrets choking our home. I met Aunt Carla in the kitchen before the coffee even perked, her face etched with the kind of determination that comes from too many family feuds. She slid the key across the table, a small, brass thing, notched like a puzzle piece. Found it in the lining of his duffel. Tommy's been crashing here more than I thought last week. This wasn't there before. I turned it over, cold against my palm. Any markings? None. But feel this. She pressed it to my ear, a faint jingle, like something loose inside. Hollow? Maybe a hidey-hole key. My mind whirred, Grandma's house. A locker? We needed tools, allies. Keep it quiet. Mom's fragile. She nodded, pouring coffee strong as her suspicions. That boy's poison, Elena. But you're the antidote. What's the play? The play, I said, stirring sugar like it was a spell, is digging. No more waiting for him to confess. Jake arrived mid-morning, unmarked cruiser purring up the drive. He took one look at the key, eyes narrowing. Could be anything. Storage unit, safety deposit. Let's start local. Our deeper dive began at the east side self-storage off 10th Street, a chain-link maze of roll-up doors, graffiti tagging the fences like urban hieroglyphs. Jake flashed his badge casual, charming the manager, a gum-chewing retiree named Earl, into spilling manifests. Ramirez, Unit 47B, paid up through August. Odd hours, though. Night owl. Unit 47B, padlock pried easy with Jake's multi-tool. Inside, dim, musty, lit by our phone beams. Boxes stacked haphazard, old tools, kid toys, Mia's stuffed bear, I'm missing. But the back, a safe, knee-high, dial gleaming. The key fit the shackle, click like a confession. Jake spun the combo, trial and error, cursing under breath, until it yielded. Inside, cash bundles, rubber-banded, maybe $5,000. Lotto winnings? No, marked envelopes, Valdez, IOU. And a ledger, dates, amounts, names. Tommy's handwriting, shaky scrawl, Rico, 2K, due July 15th. Becca support, skipped. Forged check scanned, ready to cash. My stomach roiled. This is a war chest. Or a grave. Jake bagged samples, evidence gloves snapping. He's laundering, maybe. Or paying protection. We need warrants, but off books for now. Alliance solidified, we hit the next thread, Becca. I drove to her apartment in Fountain Square, artsy hood with murals splashing color on brick walls, food trucks scenting the air with cumin and grease. She answered wary, toddler on hip, hair in a messy bun. Elena? God, it's been. Mia's napping. Come in. Her place was cozy chaos, toys strewn, coffee rings on the table. Over herbal tea, she spilled. Tommy's ghosted us. Said he'd send money after a score. Then nothing. Last I heard, he was at Rico's Friday, big game. Pray he loses, winning means owing more. Friday. The mill. Suspense from last night coiled tighter. You ever see the key? Or safe? She frowned, then lit up. Wait, yeah. He left a duffel once, brass key on the chain. Thought it was his truck spare. Pivotal, the key was his anchor to this double life. I hugged her goodbye, promising updates. Tell Mia tia Lena loves her. We'll fix this. Back home, new tool in hand, Grandma's old address book, unearthed from the attic. Flipping pages, yellowed as memories, Rico v. Don't call unless emergency. Grandma knew. My world tilted, had she covered for him? Notes in margins, Tommy borrowed 300, repaid in chores. But later, worried. Game's bad. Layered secrets, Grandma's enabling, born of love's blind spot. Emotional low crashed, hero turned enabler. Evening brought an unexpected ally, Mr. Patel from the corner store. I'd stopped for milk, but he waved me behind the counter. Elena, beta. Heard about Rosa. And Tommy, shoo. His English accented thick, eyes darting. He comes here, buys scratchers. Last week, argued with man, tall, scar on neck. Valdez's boy. Said, tell your boss Ramirez pays Friday, or family hurts. Threat confirmed. I gripped the counter, knuckles white. You tell anyone? He shook turbaned head. Not police. But you? Family. Protect your own. Gratitude swelled. Thank you, Uncle P. O.U. Night fell suspenseful. Tommy texted, home soon. We talk? Jake and I planned at the porch, Aunt Carla lookout, Mom napping. But twist, as Tommy's truck crunched gravel, headlights sweeping, a black SUV idled across the street. Watchers. He burst in, wild-eyed, duffels slung. Sis, Aunt C, where's Mom? We gotta. I blocked the hall, Jake materializing from shadows. Sit. Now. Tommy froze, eyes darting. Harlan? What the? Evidence, Jake said, flashing the ledger photo on his phone. Storage unit. Safe. Your name all over it. Panic flickered, then defiance. You broke in? That's illegal. Voluntary search, Jake lied smooth. Your key fit. Tommy slumped onto the stairs, head in hands. It's not what you think. Rico's got hooks in me, started with poker, then loans for Mia's medical. She had that ear infection, bills piled. I won once, paid some. Then lost big. Mia's subplot deepened, innocent pawn in his spiral. Tears stung. Why not ask us? Mom, me. You judge. Like always. Golden Elena, off in Chicago, judging the screw-up. Hurt lanced, but resolve hardened. Judging? I'm saving you, idiot. From jail. From Rico. He looked up, broken. Friday's my out. Pot's $20K. Win, and we're free. Cliffhanger alliance test, let him go? Or intervene? Aunt Carla stepped in, voice steel. No more games, nephew. Or we turn this over. Tommy bolted, duffel dropped, cash spilling like confetti. You don't get it. They come for me, they come for you. Door slammed. SUV peeled after him. Jake radioed discreet, tail him. Mill. I collapsed against the wall, intensity peaking. We follow. End this. Deeper we plunged, tools sharpening, Patel's tip, Becca's plea, Grandma's ghosts. Empowerment flickered, no more victim. Hunter now. If this investigation's got your pulse pounding, share this video with a friend who loves a good unraveling. Your likes and subs keep the momentum rolling into revenge. The mill loomed on Indy's outskirts, a skeletal relic of the auto boom, rusted silos piercing the night like fingers accusing the stars, chain-link fences sagging under Ivy's chokehold. Jake's cruiser idled a block away, lights off, our breaths fogging the windows. Tommy's truck was there already, parked crooked among weeds, the black SUV flanking it like a predator. My hands twisted in my lap, nails digging crescents. Revenge wasn't hot rage anymore, it was cold calculus, a scheme woven from desperation and defiance. "We go in smart," Jake murmured, checking his off-duty piece holstered low. "I'm back up." "You're the ghost, slip in, record, get out." "Aunt Carla's with Mom, line open." I nodded, phone set to video, earpiece buzzing with Carla's voice. "Be safe, Mija. That boy's not worth your soul." Soul. The word anchored me. This wasn't just payback, it was empowerment, reclaiming the jar's shattered promise, for Mom, Mia, the family Tommy's greed had fractured. Subplot simmered, Jake's steady presence, his thumb brushing mine. "You're brave as hell, Elena. Whatever happens after, we talk. Real talk. After." The word dangled hope amid the high stakes. I slipped from the car, hoodie up, sneakers silent on gravel. The mill's side door yawned ajar, grease and mold scent punching the air. Inside, cavernous, moonlight slanting through broken panes, casting the poker table in ghostly glow. 8 men, smoke-wreathing cigars, chips clacking like bones. Rico Valdez at head, lean, scar bisecting his lip, eyes flat as coins. Tommy opposite, sweat beading his brow, stack modest. Ramirez, Rico drawled, dealing cards with surgeon's precision. "Your buy-in's light. That sister of yours, sweet collateral." Tommy's laugh forced. "All good, boss. Let's play." My heart seized, me, leverage. I crouched behind a rusted press, phone angled, capturing it all, faces, bets, the ledger's echo in Rico's taunts. "Heard you hit Mama's piggy bank. Smart. Families for fleecing. One more hand," he pleaded. "Double or nothing." Rico's smile wolfish. "Nothing it is. Boys, escort him." 2 goons rose, meaty hands clamping Tommy's shoulders. He bucked, chair toppling. "Wait. I got." Gunmetal glinted, Rico's piece on the table, casual threat. No violence, but the promise chilled. I edged closer, video rolling, breath shallow. Twist, Tommy's eyes locked on shadows, mine. Panic flared. "Elena? You." Rico's head snapped. "Who's that?" Suspense peaked, footsteps crunching my way. I bolted, heart slamming, weaving through machinery's maze. Shouts echoed, "Grab her." Jake's voice boomed outside, "PD. Hands up." Chaos erupted, doors crashing, flashlights piercing dark. I burst into night air, lungs burning, Jake's arms snagging me. "Got the feed?" Every word. Triumph surged, emotional payoff cresting. Sirens wailed distant, backup rolling. Rico's crew scattered like roaches, but Tommy froze in the yard, hands up, face ashen. "Sis, you ratted?" "Saved," I spat, closing distance. "You're done, Tommy. Debts, forgery, all out." "But Rico? He's the key. Cops take him, your slate wipes." He crumpled, knees to dirt. "Mia, what about her?" Subplot resolution budding, redemption's crack. "We fight for her. Together. But no more lies." Jake cuffed Rico as he emerged snarling, ledger match sealing it. "Valdez, you're cooked. Extortion, usury, the works. High-stakes action faded to cuffs clicking, lights pulsing blue-red. Aunt Carla's call crackled, "Mom's okay." Watching the news already, bust at the mill. Empowerment swelled, I'd schemed, executed, threads pulled taut. Back at the house, dawn gilding the porch, Mom waited with coffee. Tommy, in Jake's borrowed jacket, sat silent. "I'm sorry," he whispered finally. The jar, shattered at asking, "Yeah. But you? You fixed us." Not fixed. Fractured still. But mending. Revenge wasn't destruction, it was reclaiming power, glass pieced into mosaic. As Jake drove me to the station for statements, his hand found mine again. "Proud of you." "What now?" "Now," I said, "city waking around us, I bake. And maybe, coffee dates." Schemes echo, victory bittersweet, stakes paid in truth. If this revenge arc has you cheering for the comeback, hit subscribe, your bell rings mean more empowering tales like this. One more section to seal the deal. The station house buzzed with aftermath, cops shuffling reports under fluorescent hum, coffee acrid as regret. Rico in holding, snarling at mirrors, his crew rounded up by noon, poker empire crumbling like a bad bluff. Tommy sat in interrogation, not as suspect but witness, his testimony spilling like floodwaters, debts accrued post-divorce, Lotto as gateway drug, forgery born of cornered panic. I shattered the jar asking, he confessed to the tape, voice raw. Mom looked at me like I was the devil. And I was. I watched through one-way glass, Mom beside me, her hand vice-tight on mine. Climax crested not in fists but words, truth's blade severing lies. He was protecting us, in his twisted way, she murmured. But you, Elena, you brought the light. Light. Empowerment's glow, warming the sterile chill. Jake emerged, tie loose, exhaustion etching his face. It's done. Rico flips on bigger fish, feds incoming. Tommy gets probation, restitution. Community service at a shelter. Clean start. Relief crashed, emotional high peaking, tears I didn't fight. And the jar? Symbolic, Jake said, arm around my shoulders. But Mom's keeping the glass shards. Mosaic for the garden. We drove home as sun climbed, Indianapolis unfolding golden, dome sparkling, river winking. Subplots resolved in quiet beats. Becca arrived that afternoon, Mia in tow, pigtailed forgiveness in her hug. Tia. Daddy said you're a hero. Tommy knelt, eyes wet. I am sorry, Bean. No more disappearing. Becca nodded wary truce. Supports reinstated. But one slip. None, he vowed. Aunt Carla packed, hugging fierce. You did good, niece. Blood's thicker when it's honest. Even Mr. Patel sent flowers, yellow roses, note, for the bloom after storm. Resolution settled soft, house saved via Rico's seized assets, partial restitution to the jar's memory. Mom and I started a new one, digital, for Mia's college, my bakery. Tommy moved in temporary, shifts at Patel's, meetings for Gamblers Anonymous. Fractures mended slow, but strong. 2 weeks later, Jake and I walked the canal, hands linked proper now. That bakery dream, he said, bumping my shoulder. I'll invest. First customer. I laughed, free. Deal. But you wash dishes. Lessons lingered, betrayal cuts kin deepest, but revenge isn't vengeance, it's rising, glass sharp and whole. Secrets hidden fester, aired, they heal. Empowerment? It's the will to shatter illusions, rebuild bolder. Grandma's voice whispered in wind, strong, Mija. Always. And so I was.